You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Colorado. This is the Engage the Rockies podcast weekend review for August 19th through August 23rd. If you'd like the show notes with the links to the stories we're covering today, please visit engagetherockies.com and sign up to our email. Every Friday, we'll send you the list of articles when a new episode is released. From around the state. Something's off with Colorado's job market data. Colorado recorded the biggest change to its employment numbers of any state, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics preliminary benchmark revisions for March. The revisions were released Wednesday. The number of jobs reported in the state was down 2.5%, or 72,000 jobs fewer than previously reported, the federal agency found. The Bureau releases job reports detailing employment after every month through a sampling process to get an idea on how the nation's job market is faring. The monthly reports considered to be fairly accurate are later revised throughout the year as more data comes in through a process called benchmarking. But as new data has come in over the last year, Colorado has been missing the mark. Even the federal agency has noticed. In January, the Bureau of Labor Statistics noted Colorado's data, quote, showed unusual movements. The national revisions were large too, down 818,000 jobs, or 0.5%, the highest since 2009, according to an analysis from the economic think tank Common Sense Institute based out of Greenwood Village. Moving on. Student attendance in Colorado continued to recover from the sharp rise in chronic absenteeism following the COVID-19 pandemic, but the state remained below the attendance trend line compared to 2019. Before the pandemic, attendance was higher and absenteeism was lower than the most recent figures. The new figures from the Colorado Department of Education showed that student attendance increased by 0.7 percentage points, up to 91.5%, while chronic absenteeism decreased by 3.4 percentage points to 27.7% in 2023 to 2024. That drop represented roughly 28,000 fewer students who were chronically absent, which meant they had, quote, more consistent engagement in learning, end quote, the state agency said. Both figures reflected trends from the previous school year in which attendance rose and absenteeism decreased. Officials recorded the state high rate of chronic absenteeism at 35.5% during the 2021 to 2022 school year. Chronic absenteeism is usually defined as students missing at least 10% of the school year. Across the nation, about 1 out of 4 students were chronically absent during the 2022 to 2023 school year. Despite the positive trends, statewide attendance has yet to reach pre-COVID trend lines. In 2019 to 2020, the state average for attendance stood at 92.8%, and the average chronic absentee rate was 22.6%. During the pandemic, officials shut down schools and transitioned to remote learning, while the state government restricted gatherings and closed some businesses, such as bars, gyms, and restaurants, in addition to other mandates. This year, over 241,000 of the state's 902,854 students, roughly 1 in 4, were chronically absent. Moving on. Just days before the Colorado legislature is slated to hold a special session to pass a compromise and thereby stop Proposition 108, the Secretary of State announced it officially qualified for the November ballot. Proposition 108 aims to reduce assessment rates for residential and commercial properties to 5.7% and 24% respectively. Last week, Governor Jared Polis announced he would be convening a 3-day session on property taxes starting on August 26th. Polis told Colorado Politics the goal is to pass a compromise on property taxes and pull from the ballot both Proposition 108 and a proposed constitutional amendment, Proposition 50, which would cap future property tax growth at 4%. Advance Colorado and Colorado Concern, the groups behind the two initiatives, confirmed that a compromise has been reached between the governor and legislative leaders, and that they will withdraw their initiatives from the ballot if the agreement is signed into law. The agreement would cut the effective residential property tax to 6.3% or 6.4%, depending on assessment growth, and reduce the commercial property tax rate to 25%. It also caps growth for local governments at 5.25% and sets a limit for school districts at either 6% or inflation growth whichever is higher. Additionally, it ensures that the ballot language for opting out of the local cap is, quote, clear and non-biased. Combined with legislation already enacted earlier this year, the deal yields nearly $1.6 billion in annual tax savings, according to Advance Colorado and Colorado Concern. Moving on, the pro-Palestinian protests on the Aurora campus have cost the institution in damages more than twice the roughly $300,000 officials reported last spring. The actual cost, an official confirmed Tuesday, was $668,934. Deborah Ashby, a spokesperson for the Aurora Higher Education Center, said in May that she expected the costs, quote, costs will only increase over time. Last spring, Ashby said the damages involved destroying the sod, graffiti, tagging, and vandalism, as well as picking up trash in the quad, including a hazmat team that handled a spill from an illegal toilet. Campus officials also reported roughly $123,000 from about 40 canceled events, Whitaker said. These events included student and public events, particularly the Pancreatic Cancer Walk, athletic events, and weddings. A civil rights attorney has said about 20 students are being prosecuted for trespassing and failure to obey a lawful order. If convicted, the charges could mean up to 300 days in jail or a $999 fine, or both. Moving on. The Aurora Police Department announced Monday that it is joining forces with the Colorado State Patrol and Colorado Bureau of Investigation to create a special task force to address the city's concerns about the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Aurora police say the task force's main goal will be to assist agencies around the area by maximizing resources and sharing intelligence in ongoing investigations. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman said this task force has been discussed and even put into practice for a time already. He said one of their biggest efforts now is to engage with and learn from the community. Kaufman and Aurora police both said they cannot say too much about what the new task force will be doing so that any investigations will not be compromised. Kaufman did say, however, that he believes allocating more resources to this issue is necessary, and he wants residents to know it is something both he and police are taking seriously. And lastly, from around El Paso County, Colorado Springs residents are likely to see a question asking them to legalize recreational marijuana sales on the November ballot. Responsible Rec for Colorado Springs, a local group that advocates the legalization of recreational marijuana sales, submitted about 3,400 petition signatures above the minimum needed to place a question on the ballot that seeks voter approval, city officials said Thursday. The proposal would allow only existing medical marijuana shops to transition to selling recreational marijuana and dedicate revenue to funding public safety programs, mental health services, and post-traumatic stress disorder treatment programs. The City Council has the option Tuesday to either adopt the citizen-initiated question as an ordinance or send it on to voters, spokesman Max D'Onofrio said. The council is likely to send it on to the voters because the board recently approved its question asking voters to ban recreational marijuana sales in the city charter. The dueling questions sparked intense debate at the most recent council meeting, with advocates pointing out recreational marijuana is widely available and Colorado Springs simply doesn't benefit from it, while opponents highlighted the potential health risks of marijuana. Colorado Springs is home to about 90 medical marijuana dispensaries. The community had 114 dispensaries in 2022, the last time voters were asked to legalize recreational marijuana sales in town. The question failed by a margin of 57% to 43%. Those are your top stories for the week of August 19th through the 23rd. Please tune in each Friday for your week in review from Engage the Rockies. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe for more great content. If you'd like the full articles from the stories we read today, sign up to our email list at engagetherockies.com, and we'll send you our show notes each week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.